Yes, yes, I can see you right now in the chat, all of you present. Oh yeah. Hello there, welcome to this video. You might wonder, what's this format, I understand, it's just because there's a neighbour next door upon the roof, so that's why I decided to shut the curtains today, okay, so I'm not distracted by anything. But it's not just that, right? That might seem a little bit confusing. There we go. Just adjust that. Oh my god, I literally look like Betty Hayward right now. Wow. Got the reinforced headband. Have you got that in your collection, Betty Hayward? Let me know down below. But hopefully the lighting here right now is still clear. You can still see. I think once in the past I had the camera facing the other way, but I guess because of the lighting and the window, it made me look very dark and you couldn't actually see my face. At that time, because I was covering a mystery, people thought I was being silenced. That's why I wasn't showing my face when I was talking about a case, but it's just because of the lighting. Though it did look like I was in Bob Farrell's witness protection program. Not bad, not bad, yeah. Anyway, today, first of all, welcome if you're currently here in the live premiere, appreciate it. Today we're going to be, to an extent, continuing on with the Dylan Rounds discussions. I've got the latest update and response from Candice Cooley. I'm going to be sharing that with you today and analysing if necessary. As you know, recently we followed the trend of looking at the information which maybe no one has ever really heard of before, with the 21st of May 2023, the search out there, the presence of Candice Cooley, possibly Justin too, and somebody else, as well as a sheriff, which is all very interesting in my opinion, and maybe we may never hear of again. So that's why we looked at it, and it was on an old post, Find Dylan Round's Facebook page, and there is a new post right now, just by a normal person asking some questions. Candice Cooley responds regarding the searches for Dylan Rounds. So we will take a look at that today. Can briefly take a look at the comments in the last video I did. Not too many to get through. One main one by Indiana. Don't think it's too long, so we can check that out and see if there's any questions in general. If you haven't already, be sure to check out last night's video, quite interesting, covering the latest news and background drama regarding certain channels not being present, okay? Is there anything else to say? As we do go along in this video, make sure to share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions on the case and other bits in between. If you do want to have some cat fights, make sure your claws are clean so you don't infect anyone, in case you've been pouring away in the dirt. I don't know, maybe you've taken a shit in Weezer's garden when she's been trying to plant stuff. I don't know, anything can happen, right? I bet Weezer is like, did someone just dig up my tomatoes or something? I don't know, you'll have to check again, Weezer. Do you know what you should have done, Weezer? If there's any disturbance to your garden setup, just contact Jim Terry for those trail cameras and take up his offer this time round. You might actually catch someone on camera, unlike elsewhere in Lucerne. But yeah, just want to share my thoughts today and analysis on that to do with Dylan Rounds. Still, we're keeping that up. If you haven't already seen, I've surpassed the 300 mark with videos about Dylan Rounds. This might be my 302nd or 3rd video, still going on. Guess can highlight it a bit later as well about YouTube and that being dodgy. Also, Kaylee is back from the looks of it, so we can take a little look at that. I guess we just go into the comments right now, and then if I do think of anything in between, I'll share it with you, okay? Do the comments first, just to allow people to join on into this video. What I'll just do first is arrange it to the newest comments. We start from the bottom. Linda leaving a comment before the video saying interesting because of what we were talking about last night. And said if you are interested yourself, there will be a link down below in the pinned comments section for you to check that previous video out. Cleo saying thank you, you're welcome. Bob Farrell saying good show, another one, appreciate it. Same with Twin Mama, great show as always. Badger, excellent, so appreciate that, good of people to say that. We've got Skeptical by Nature saying haven't had the pleasure yet, but the comments are promising. Yeah, it's true. I'd say from last night the comments were quite, positive and relatively focused too, which is all good. It's good to maintain a level of focus when you're talking about important subjects, topics like Dylan Round's case, of course. And yeah, people were talking about other things as well in between last night, which is also good. So people can, speak openly and not feel controlled or feel like they have to be silenced. But at the same time, there was still a level of control there. It didn't get into a complete disaster, right? So once again, proving that on this channel, in this specific format, it's still doable, right? It still works out in its own unique way. So can't really complain there, okay? Move on. We got someone called Johnny of the Spot saying, yeah, Warlike will go. Check out your last video. I'll get right on that. Yeah, for some reason, I'm feeling like I'll be in trouble if I don't. Why does Johnny feel that he'll be whipped if he doesn't check my previous video out? As I picture you starting countdown timer at T-5 seconds, something kind of feels like it's a mandatory, non-debatable vibe, and failure to comply will be at your peril. It's all good, my man. Okay, so I think Johnny on the Spot has understood the brief. Okay, so that's all good, all under control. Well spoken, you remind me of me. Okay. We got Indiana here, Christy as well. What does Indiana have to say? Well, maybe it was a bit longer than anticipated. Wait, has Indiana edited it since? Oh yeah, Indiana, I see what you've done. You decided to edit it, make it a little bit longer just for me. Very good of you. It's very kind of you, Indiana. Let's read what it says. Going back to the beginning, when Dylan Rounds went missing, it was put forwards that there could be a link between Aidan and Dylan. Could the fact Justin has now joined in the search for Aidan above his own missing son, that there may actually be a connection between Aidan and Dylan that we are yet to know about, and it just a case of one family helping another with the same cause, find Aidan, find Dylan? Interesting, right? We'll do a poll right away and be sure to vote. The poll can be along the lines of, do you believe that the Aidan Clune case is somehow connected with the Dylan Rounds case? The voting options can be yes, maybe a little, not at all, I don't know. Make sure to vote right now. Like, this is the thing. Previously, I did a video in the past comparing Dylan Rounds with Aidan Clune, the missing person cases, similarities and differences, and also compared it to Kenny Veach as well. Now, some fools in the background said, there's no similarities, no links whatsoever. What are you talking about? Completely different, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, cool it down. First of all, you look at the factors such as age, both 19 years old of age when they went missing, both going missing in a desert area, both arguably not far from one another in a way, okay, compared to other missing people out there. You could say both to an extent somewhat vulnerable. In terms of Aidan, vulnerable due to his, I guess, psychological health issues. Dylan Rounds, vulnerable in the sense of his age, but also being out there by himself in Lucin and Montello. Not that he lived there full time, but just that he was down there by himself at that age, doing big, important stuff, surrounded by criminals, reoffenders, right? So they both have kind of like vulnerabilities. Both have received, I guess, rabbit hole / rumours / concepts, similarities there. So Dylan Rounds being, called out or assumed kind of gay in some kind of gay relationship with Kurt Wadsworth. Aidan Clune being tied and associated with cross-dressing and meeting up with guys dressed as women with that app. Even if it's not the truth and it's complete BS, which it feels like it is, to be honest, but there are similarities there that both cases have received that focus and theme around gay relationships and cross-dressing. At one point, people were linking Aidan Clune's disappearance with Kurt Wadsworth because of a cross-dressing app Aidan supposedly had on his phone. May have called contact someone like Kurt Wadsworth into that, met up at a hotel, and then something happened. But it was later confirmed, whether it be by the hotel motel staff or in some news report, that when Aidan was at that place, he came and left by himself. There was no one else with him. So maybe that clears that up, at least. You see the similarities, okay? And I think the age factor is a big one because, depending if it's a crime ring, that type of stuff, they might target people of a certain age, right? People have been saying that in Montello there's many missing people and younger ones. And if you remember what I was saying midway through, early on in the Dylan Rounds case, we were looking at external crimes committed in Montello and maybe further afar. And although they weren't to do with Dylan Rounds, it was to see if there was a link with certain types of crime in which the victims are of a certain age, origins, location, right? And if we found some consistency, then maybe does it apply to Dylan Rounds? Have we got to that point yet? Honestly, no. One consistency, what we have noticed though over time, was the usage of, substance. That fentanyl was quite high, no pun intended, in 2022, which led to schizophrenic-like behaviour, symptoms, did I say psychosis, more paranoia, so changes in behaviour by people. So you could link that epidemic, if you want to call it that, with the Dylan Rounds case, as if Dylan may have come across someone or been in a situation meeting a person who was under the influence of substance use, negative side effects, took it out on Dylan Rounds. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know the main focus is Brenner, right? Does anyone know if Brenner uses substances and other bits and bobs? We've heard he's an alcoholic, drinks alcohol, has lots of beer cans chucked all around in the grain shed and near the dirt mound. But was Brenner ever known to be under the influence of certain substances? If anyone can confirm, for whatever reason, list it down below if possible. Just get a better understanding, because sure, Brenner could have snapped, but did he just snap because that's what he normally does, or did he snap because there was something fueling him at the time? One of the factors I added in not too long ago when we're looking at the motives was maybe Brenner being drunk or recovering from the night before, the day before, and he was moody, his aggression levels were heightened, and he was just more reactive on a smaller misunderstanding or falling out, right? So even if you do narrow it down to one individual purposely responsible, and that's it, it's then trying to understand why they did it. And I know Candice Cooley Justin would have said it already and said it many times, but is there any additional factors, sub-factors, which might have added to it? There's no harm looking into that, just like how there's no harm in questioning everything about the case. If the case from day one was a bit more sturdy, solid, and it was a bit more truth and not as much messy noise, then maybe you don't have to question as much. But it's not been as smooth sailing this time round. Okay. Anything else here? Yeah, so make sure to vote. As said in the poll, do you think Aidan is linked to Dylan's disappearance and vice versa? Do you feel that if you find Aidan, you'll find Dylan, vice versa? Or is it just simple as, they're just assisting one another, these different families? In my opinion, despite some of the similarities, what I would personally say is I just feel like Dylan Round's family is helping Aidan Clune's family. Aidan Clune's family, if anyone can add extra information in, like input, has the Aidan Clune case been covered better than the Dylan Round's case? Can anyone acknowledge that? Or has it been just as bad? What has the police been like within the Aidan Clune case? Did they take it seriously? Did they delay anything or just get on with it? Is it better, worse, or around the same as the treatment of the Dylan Round's case when it comes to authority, police? Let me know. We probably can do another poll right now. I know it's very, very quick and back to back, but it's important. It's a valid one, right? Get a better idea of things. So everybody watching right now, be sure to look at the chat box on the right where the blue tab is and click on the vote and make sure to put your vote in right now. Right now. You going to do that? I don't know why it sounded like I was going to whip someone and the way I was wording that. Don't worry, not yet. Right. So yeah, as said, the next poll can be worded as, do you think that the Aidan Clune case has been handled better than the Dylan Rounds case? Yes, no, which could be no in it's been handled just as bad as the Dylan Rounds case. Then the other option can be no, it's been handled much worse. I mean, I have seen the articles with time that they did these planned searches here and there, and most recent one between 14th of May and the 20th, I believe Lance Kelly being out there, Justin being out there. Makes you think though, makes you think if Justin was out there recently to help search for Aidan, and if they were all meeting up in a particular spot, was Lance Kelly there as well? Because Lance Kelly did do some kind of video saying, I'm going out there, we're meeting up. Do you think there was any tension, any conflict? Did Lance meet up with Justin or in the same space area? Wonder what that would have been like. Would it have been a bit awkward or something? Kind of makes you think, right? Yeah. Like, this is what I mean. Even with the Dylan Rounds case, whether it's solved or not, as people move on, whether it be viewers, content creators, physical searchers and explorers / content creators and / or family members, if for whatever reason, what happens if they all move in the same direction to another case, like Aidan Clune, with it being kind of local? Will the tension and resistance be there? The grudges, do they continue over? Let me know your thoughts in the chat right now. Because, Ty Corbyn, Lance Kelly parted ways a long time ago. Candice Cooley, at least, doesn't approve of Ty Corbyn, Lance Kelly. Justin Rounds, I don't know. People say that Justin Rounds is okay with the two and some other people out there, but then some say, he doesn't really approve of it. Candice Cooley has never really explained it either. Justin hasn't really explained it either, public. So I don't know about that. If you remember in the past, Candice Cooley, in a standalone interview, might have been on Doug's channel, in the past, was questioned about something, about Lance, Ty Corbyn, people out there actively searching. And they were saying about how Justin approves of it. Candice Cooley said, what? I've never heard of that. I'll have to reach out to Justin about that and see what he thinks. Fast forward till now, we never really heard about it. Anyone in the chat agree? Anyone in the chat agree that Candice Cooley never followed up with Justin about do they approve of the likes of Lance Kelly, Ty Corbin, independent people going out there, Scott Natal? We never really heard back, which is disappointing, I guess. Fair. If you're looking forwards ahead, and you got the Aidan Clune case still ongoing, like with Dylan Rounds. And I believe the Aidan Clune case happened before the Dylan Rounds one, if I'm correct in saying. Was there like a month apart difference or so? Regardless, it's gone on for some time. And people moving that direction, those people who have friction with one another back in the Dylan Rounds community, will that friction, misunderstanding, conflict and tension transverse over to the Aidan Clune case? You think that's a possibility? Like, you shouldn't be bringing the past with you into a completely different case and community where the same people who have friction with one another go in the same direction. It seems inevitable, right? Look at Salty Pancakes, moved in the direction of Aidan Clune. Ty Corbin has moved into the direction of Aidan Clune, and they might call one another out here and there, some disagreements, etc. It's unfortunate, but it seems inevitable, okay? And as we've seen with time, it feels as if a certain set group of people move in the same direction and orbit around. Is that a bad thing? Maybe if you're talking about drama, but as for coverage, it's a positive. Each one can complement one another. Some can connect and do live streams, panels with one another, right? Maybe with the Idaho 4 case, some have gone off in that direction but have done their own independent stuff, though with maybe Aidan Clune. They still maintained a little level of going on panels with one another and talking about it to an extent. Maybe there's a bit more of a connection there than with the Idaho 4 because that's completely elsewhere and under different circumstances, right? It's not a missing person case. True crime, but not missing person. And it has progressed ever since. Tying it in here with Indiana, my analysis is making this comment look like a very short sentence here, but there you go. But Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds have referred to Aidan Clune in the past, and I think the mother, I believe they've reached out to the mother as well. And so have with other families out there, kind of like connecting that networking of missing people and families suffering who may be at a loss, who don't have the help that they truly need or deserve, that the lacking equipment. And I believe that's one of the reasons to the whole Dylan Rounds legacy, both in remembering Dylan Rounds' name, but spreading awareness and understanding towards other families going through the same thing as Candice Cooley and Justin have, due to the police and how they've handled stuff, the length of time it's gone on for, the lack of equipment, things being delayed. So trying to make it easier for other families out there going through the same stuff. I believe that's the overall motive here. And with reaching out to the likes of Aidan Clune's family, it makes sense, it's understandable, kind of within the area. Although Aidan doesn't know Dylan, Dylan never knew Aidan, because they were of the same age at the time when going missing and out there in the desert and still missing, trying to help one another. Now, my question is, okay, it seems as if Dylan Rounds' family has helped in some way with the Aidan Clune case. Has the Aidan Clune family helped with the Dylan Rounds case? Anyone know? Just a simple question, that is all. But as worded here by Indiana, that either Aidan and Dylan could be linked together with this whole missing person case, or is it just as simple as family helping one another out, a family helping another family out? Kind of like how Heavy D and his videos with his crew, with what he does, not to do with missing people, not always, helping other families out and other businesses out there, and that network connecting. It makes sense, when these people have helped others out, and then it's been reciprocated down the line at an important moment. So there are benefits to it. It can just improve general situation and improve efficiency. So I get that. But it'd just be interesting to see what you people think in the votes about possible connections or not. Yeah, I'd probably just say it's families helping one another out because of the legacy aspect of Dylan Rounds. Okay. What's the rest of this? Indiana say, in regard of all the activity around Lucerne Pond, searches may be not needed elsewhere because all evidence points to that area around Lucerne Pond to Dylan's whereabouts. As it seems, everything goes on down there. We've yet to know just where Dylan's body was first placed before being moved. Hence why people like Chase and Robert Aviles may have knew things after the event and they were not dragging the area around the pond for nothing. You mean dredging or something? Yeah, I kind of understand what Indiana is getting at. But quite a bit of focus and talk around Lucerne Pond. We've had Scott Natal, we've had Ty Corbin, we've had Lance Kelly all go down to the pond at a certain point in time, right, over the span of the case. Had family go down there, police go down there. June 18th, 2022, Dylan's phone found down there, which had that incriminating video evidence, deep forensics, retrieved from the phone of Dylan's, the 27-second clip, Brenner with blood on him, his shirt, the blood was of Dylan, and that was on 7:27 a.m, 28th of May 2022, when that video originated from, the timestamps of around when Dylan was just killed beforehand. So yeah, very important, the pond, that you were able to get the phone from there. More recent, I believe, Candice Cooley in the comments somewhere. I did document it in my previous video if you want to look back. At one point in the past, Candice Cooley saying that there was divers in the pond around June 18th, 2022, back then, when they were searching about and checking for Dylan's body. They did not find it. Okay, so it's a pond and it's pretty deep. How deep exactly? I don't know. If anyone can confirm and fill in the blanks, feel free to do so. To have divers, it must be relatively deep, or maybe somewhat deep, but just be able to stay down and like sieve through and try and look. I mean, I guess it also depends on how much dirt and debris is within the pond. If it needed dredging and draining and clearing out, how much, mess was in there. Is it like the pond can appear shallow, but once you clear it out, get rid of all the dirt, it's deeper than you think? Possibility, right? But what I wanted to say, in contrast to that, about the pond being deep, more so in recent time from what we've heard from Candice Cooley, is that the pond is shallow. Now, I can also understand a pond being shallow if it's a pond. Ponds around here, like me, around here, are shallow, okay? But you can get some deeper ponds, of course, it varies. But my question is, why did Candice Cooley in the early days interpret it as the pond's deep, that's why you got divers, and more so in recent times saying the pond isn't deep, it's shallow? How do you go from one to the other? I don't quite understand. Can anyone else clear that up? Let me know your thoughts. Anything else here? But yeah, the pond has been focused on quite a bit. It's been searched, and in early 2023, it was searched again. Not heard much since. But then fast forward to 21st of May, 2023. Seemed as if they were around that area once again, and the sheriff too. Makes you think. And maybe we can provide a better understanding very shortly if you stick around when we look at Candice Cooley's latest, newest response to do with searches within the area. Responses, what do we have here? Maybe Lucerne Pond is a hotspot since it's near the wash. I think it is. You look on the maps, Lucerne Pond is in parallel to the wash, or part of the wash, kind of connects in with one another. So if whoever's around there, if they see the pond, look at it this way. Everyone focus briefly. If Dylan Round's phone and final phone ping was at the pond area, and that there are possible track marks in the wash to do with Dylan Round's vehicle, and you also just about find out that the pond is in parallel to a part of the wash area, as I've displayed to you on the maps, then you might as well be literally at that spot in the middle of it. So you can go up to the pond and have a look there, and you can also go down to the wash. Seems like a big hot spot, considering an important piece of evidence was found at the pond area and ongoing evidence of tracks were in the wash area. With that suggestion about Dylan being in a wash, well, there's the wash. And Dylan's phone being dumped nearby over that way, well, there it is. You know, it's one of those things where either you try and look for evidence which points in a certain direction as a new lead, or you look for an area which is a hotspot of lots of different pieces of information, which could be the main spot to where it all went down, or at least where it ended due to the desecration. Makes you think. And I know someone like Prospector Gold has already claimed that Dylan Rounds has already been found and remains are elsewhere, further afar. But has Prospector ever reached out to Candice Cooley? I mean, what I would say, first of all, in my opinion, put aside the BS and the cautiousness. For people to reach out and give locations or say that it's been found or they found it or they know the coordinates, it's good of them to reach out. I appreciate it. But my only question would be, is it practical reaching out to me? Should he be reaching out to the family instead because they're more directly tied within the case? But then I could also understand it from their perspective, thinking, yes, but maybe Raf covers it a little bit better, or Raf is less likely to snap at you compared to someone like Candice Cooley. We have heard in the past where when certain independent people have reached out to Candice about maybe relating or some kind of idea or project or possible help methods, Candice Cooley has either barked at them, not literally, or kind of said, oh, it's irrelevant, no, and shrugged it off. Kind of like when, I believe, when Weezer tried reaching out to Candice Cooley about areas of interest or something else of importance, and Candice Cooley was like, nah, we don't need to. You know? So if Candice Cooley doesn't allow for that opportunity to take place, then maybe those people have to reach out to others out there that can spread the message, like on YouTube. So I get that as well. But if we bring down the BS element once again, you could say, you know, if at the end of the day you do actually have very, very important critical news evidence, shouldn't it be aimed towards straight to the authority police, possibly? You know, it's like what we said in past videos. Jacqueline saying, I thought for quite some time the two could be linked. No reason, just a gut feeling. They're about 50 miles apart, I think. Could be wrong though. Yeah, I don't know the actual distance. It'll definitely be quite a bit of mileage, but not an extreme amount. It depends where you measure it, gauge it from. From like Grainshed property, Dylan's farm, somewhere around there, all the way down to the highway of where Aidan's car was left abandoned, or are we talking further into the desert area? What was the desert area called, or one of the peaks nearby? Was it Cherry Mountain? Cherry something? As you know, I've not looked really deeply into the Aidan Clean case, so I'm not going to know it off top of my memory, but, you know, just little pointers. That's more than enough. Christy B saying, very interesting video, great discussions in the chat. Loved it, good job. You're welcome, Christy. So yeah, it was good last night. We've got Cleo with a orangey yellow super chat. I do like those colours. You know, even like Cut and Shoot last night with her super chat when it's that yellow colour on screen. I don't know, it just looks good visually, the colours and the tone of it. It fills in the background colours as well. But yeah, Cleo with a super chat saying thank you for being you. Shout out to Cleo. Hopefully her Care Bears are doing okay. Okay, whether they're tidying up or just sitting down and relaxing. Very good of Cleo, much appreciated. And as well, shout out to Cut and Shoot last night for her super chat, of course. Good of her as well. I don't know if it was cut and shoot or if it was Snook in a book or if it was somebody else. It might be cut and shoot. Or was it Campos Tacos? No, it wasn't Campos Tacos. Campos Tacos was too busy talking about how other people couldn't handle her chest area, that people would suffocate if they were in the presence of Campos Tacos or something. I don't know what's going on there, but, anything is possible. It might have been cut and shoot, talk about their cat ended up turning its head, confused when they heard me making the cat sounds. Don't worry, I'll make some more cat sounds today if I remember. Okay. Meow. But yeah, shout out to Cleo and cut and shoot. Jacqueline also saying relationship and money, jealousy. That was to do with possible motives behind Brenna and why he took out on Dylan. Yeah, fair point. So it looks like we've reached the end of the comments section. I believe now it's time to move on to the main focus and the bigger update by Candice Cooley most recently. Here is the Find Dylan Round's Facebook page. And not far down here, we do have new post. So, interestingly, one by Candice Cooley 41 minutes ago at this moment in time of recording the video. There seems to be a photo there. I don't know, is it like a family one from the past? Updated her profile. Thankful for these two boys, Dylan and Lorenzo, who grew up to dream big, be independent, goal-getting and hard-working, always busy with some fun adventures. Praying and thinking about Dylan and his family, missing him dearly. Vanjie Martinez Lund. Wait, so Dylan and Lorenzo. Who is Lorenzo? Is the mother Vanjie Martinez Lund to do with Lorenzo? And Dylan is obviously Candice Cooley's mother. Maybe. I'm not too sure what this is really about, but it's very recent. 41 minutes ago, shared. So it's just basically like reflecting back on the past, I guess. What do we have one here? Cunningham Mickey, please write a prayer for Dylan Round's mum, Candice Cooley, and dad, Justin Rounds, as they need their son, but I can't forget, and ask for Amy Clune and her family as their child is missing. His name is Aidan Clune. So once again, we've seen that pattern of spreading awareness on Aidan Clune and the family of Aidan Clune. It's that cross connection. That's why people possibly helping one another out. But here it is. This is the one what we've been looking for, okay? Cunningham Mickey asking the question 24th of May at 23:17, saying, will there be future searches now that the weather is better? Let's check the comments. Let that load up. There we go. Get rid of that. So Candice Cooley responds and says, we have been continuously searching since the weather has changed. We are just not asking the public for help. We have specialised teams helping us. As we have said before, if we come to a time when we think a public search is beneficial, we will ask for one. Okay, so this is interesting. From what I guess some of the Montello locals have said, they've not really seen too much activity out there over this span of time. Yet Candice Cooley is saying, we have continuously been searching out there. Though Candice Cooley, when asked recently, have you been out there, or when was the last time you were out there, she originally said, several weeks ago, we were out there for 4 days straight. Then after that, she didn't say there's been any more searches. And then we've just only heard of this recent one to do with the 21st of May, 2023. But Candice Cooley said it's got nothing to do with Dylan Round's legacy. So has it got anything to do with Dylan Rounds? You get what I'm saying? It's a bit back and forth. Some locals are saying they're not seeing Candice Cooley, the family, out there. But Candice Cooley is saying that they have been out there. But also recently, Candice Cooley has said, well, we haven't been recently also. And yet they have. But she's also claiming here that they have been continuously. And if you hear the word continuously, you'd assume that, once a week, once every 2 weeks, pretty frequent, right? Continuous. That's what it really means. Now, if Candice Cooley family weren't out there all the time, every single day, I would understand, because they're busy doing other stuff and got other work to do, right? Trying to balance it all. But the way it's worded here, it seems like they're going at it non-stop, right? But are they really? Or is it slightly exaggerated? It's just simply trying to make sense of it, because sometimes wording, aside from verbal communication, can mean other stuff, okay? Well, it may not meant to be worded in that way. Well, the responses then. Tina Wall perfectly said, it wouldn't do any good for the public to get involved, just botch it more than it is as is. But Candice has faith that he will come home, and I pray every day for him to come home. But the publicity would hinder the process that's going on as I speak. Not many people know that terrain, and having more people than search teams be a mess in no time. To be honest with you, when reflecting on the past, the whole talk about, yes, let's have public searches, and then, no, we can't, we don't want things messed up, and then, oh my God, how could certain independent people go out there and still do stuff despite us saying, don't go out and search because you'll ruin it. You remember all that talk, right? In the end, how much damage was caused? How much evidence was lost, disrupted because of general public going out searching when they were advised not to? Can anyone answer that right now? We'll even do a poll. The poll can be, taking in consideration from the beginning up to now, all the independent searches by the general public, how much damage did they cause to the case? Did they negatively harm this case and the evidence? Yes, no. One of the vote options could be, yes, they cause a lot of disruptance and damage to vital evidence. Other option can be, no, they caused no damage, no problems at all. Third option can be, they caused a bit of disruption, which slowed down certain things. And maybe the final option can be, they didn't cause any damage, but also they didn't really find anything. Something like that. Make sure to vote right now. Because, yes, we have heard it over and over again. Yes, don't allow public searches at key moments because it could harm the case. It could harm a potential crime scene. I get that. But has that really happened? We've seen Lance Kelly kicking about a stone or lifting up a wooden board, something like that, fiddling with a bunch of bones which turn out not to be human bones. Maybe the principle of it is disruptive and reckless, but the actual reality and fact is the stuff that was disturbed wasn't to do with Dylan, or Dylan wasn't there, or that evidence, possessions related to the case weren't there. But people are still going to call Lance out for it just because of that supposed mentality. I mean, look at Ty Corbin at one point. What was he, digging away at one of the walls in the wash? You could say that's, well, some people could say that's very reckless. I'm sure Candice Cooley would be very, very pissed off with it. But did Ty Corbin find Dylan when picking away at that rock wall? Or no, not rock wall, the wash wall. Did he find Dylan? Evidence? No. So was any harm done to the Dylan Rounds case on that occasion? No, not at all. But it's the what if. What if Dylan was there when digging away? What if key evidence was here when kicking stuff about and it was damaged in the process, right? I think it's more so the possibilities of what could happen and what could go wrong when the general public are present. I would say, in my opinion, for most part of it, the Dylan Rounds case, the evidence, the way it's been treated and handled, hasn't been extremely 100% disrupted and ruined because of the general public searching. More so, it's the internal things and people and how they've handled it. There's always that possibility at any point that the presence of general public could make things more difficult, could harm the case. Has it ultimately happened? No, not really. But if you think differently, make sure to get your votes in right now in the chat poll, and we'll see where we are from there, right? I think people will probably still look for Dylan here and there, but the focus may be more shifting onto Aidan Clune now. Makes you think, Aidan Clune family, is Amy Clune, the mother, more welcoming for general public and volunteers going out there or not? You know, if Dylan Rounds was just simply a missing person who may have passed away but wasn't murdered, so take out the true crime aspect, would Candice Cooley have been as strict as she is now? Does anyone know? Would she be like, come on, you can't be messing stuff here because it could ruin the evidence? Yeah, maybe she wouldn't be as strict, because when it's like a crime-related one, you know, you got to look for evidence which will be taken and used in court. And you want that evidence to be as strong as possible and in the best condition as possible. So you got to be more delicate and gentle. Though if you're just simply trying to find remains, you still have to be gentle and not too reckless. But it's not like if you move a rock, then it could be game over. Or if you find a bit of clothing, it's completely game over. You get what I'm saying? Yeah? What else do we have here in the comments? Brian Lavar says, involving the public just causes confusion of where has and hasn't been properly searched, and could let known evidence information get out into the public and allow lowlifes to give the info to the wrong people. The way it's being done is the correct way to do it. Run it like a military operation. Need to know and know what is being done down to the last detail. Maybe. Shouldn't this have been done earlier, though? You know? Kathy Oliver, not Kathy Waters, another Kathy, saying, praying so hard, you find him soon. Mary Ann Campbell, continue prayers. Jodie, hugs, prayers. I lost my... Okay. Pray Dylan's found. Yep. Right, Laura Stebe says, since he was not isolated and removed trash from that building, could he have taken Dylan out that way? Have you used LiDAR inside that building or dogs in there? Just thinking out loud. Oh, not the LiDAR again. Oh, God. Wait, what is Laura talking about here? Since he was not isolated and removed trash from that building. Is Laura talking about Brenner, 2nd of June spring cleaning? What does Candice Cooley say? He is absolutely not in the shed. So Candice Cooley seems very confident with that, stating it. He is not at all. Though something was found in the shed for that hole to be dug up, right? What's the word for it again? Biological matter? Once again, what I do want to say, heard it from the shack lady first of all, passed about a little bit, switching and changing, which is typical. Shack lady has responded a few times and has said it came from Candice Howard. And I believe other people, when they were talking about the backhoe with blood on it, the second mysterious backhoe, wherever it is, who does it belong to? Can't reveal the name. Supposedly that came from Candice Howard too. If it's all coming from Candice Howard, who may be in contact with Candice Cooley, why is Candice Howard talking about all this in the background, but Candice Cooley isn't? You get what I'm saying? Why isn't Candice Cooley addressing all this about the backhoe with blood on, about the biological matter in the grain shed? The biological matter in the grain shed, to me, still seems like a rumour because it's not been backed up by Candice Cooley, an actual family member, or even Justin Rounds. If people don't understand me, basically, what I prefer is, if you got an outsider or someone on YouTube that states something, if it can be backed up by Candice Cooley or Justin Rounds or police, I'm more likely to believe in it, right? Same the other way around. If Candice Cooley says something and so do the Montello locals, and there's a level of consistency, I'm more likely to believe in it. I need a double opinion. Is that what it's called? A second opinion? Yeah, that's it. A second opinion. But in this case, it's not an opinion. It's stating a fact. So if two separate people who don't know each other can come up with the same story, same tale of events, I'm more likely to listen. Okay? And as for the biological matter, I've heard it everywhere except from Candice Cooley or Justin Round's mouth. I've heard it everywhere except from the official court documents. So why has it not been mentioned or stated in the court documents, biological matter found in the Grangeshed property a whole, right? If they're able, aside from actually displaying the video, which they haven't, and I don't think they ever will, but considering we were told, the public, general public were told about the 27-second video clip from Dylan's phone of Brenner cleaning a gun with blood on him, that blood of Dylan Rounds. We were told about that openly by Candice Cooley, by the official court documents as well to back it up officially. All mentioned in public sight, yet not one bit mentioned about biological matter found in the Grangeshed property. Why is that one piece of evidence, which is considered really old news by now, never talked about, never mentioned publicly by Candice Cooley or Justin Rounds or the court documents or by Box Elder County Sheriff's Office? Why hasn't that been talked about? Why has it only been mentioned by the shack lady and maybe the odd other person? Why? Can anyone answer that right now? Anyone in the chat, feel free to explain to me why the biological matter in the Grangeshed has been openly talked about by the shack lady, which came from Candice Howard, but has not been mentioned by the official family or the official court documents or the authorities like the police. Why? Because to be honest, an incriminating video of Brenner is significantly more sensitive and more valuable and more important, or just as important, let's say, as the biological matter found in the Grangeshed property. If Candice Cooley here is stating that Dylan is absolutely not in the shed, why is there no talk about, but we did dig up a hole in there? Even in the Heavy D interview, right, back in towards the end of 2022, when the family were in the Grangeshed and so was Heavy D, sat down in the chairs just in front of the hole in the ground. Not at one point did Heavy D look at the hole or point to it and say, what's that all about? That's the one quietest thing within the whole case. With everything that's gone on over time and all the evidence that's come out, right? Not one reference or acknowledgement by the family to do with that hole in the Grangeshed. Why is the hole so secretive yet so in sight? You can see it, it stands out, right? But why has it never been talked about by authority or family? Can anyone explain that? I just find it weird, you know? I find it weird. And the same with the backhoe. Why is that not being talked about? And people could say, yeah, but maybe they can't reveal it about the hole, the biological matter, or the blood on the backhoe because it's very sensitive and it's very important. But this is what we've heard of in the past. The biological matter in the Grangeshed and the blood on the backhoe were all talked about before the 3rd of March, right? On the 3rd of March, Brenner was officially charged with the murder of Dylan Rounds and desecration of Dylan Rounds, right? And around that period when Candice Cooley was talking about what happened then, Candice Cooley said, all the evidence we have gathered over time has been processed and all been put into play to do with this charge of Brenner. There's no more other evidence up to now. So you're saying that the biological matter has been processed too? back then, and that the backhoe with blood on was also processed too as information. Well, if it was, why was it not mentioned in the court documents? You know, the court documents mentioned, I guess, the blood on the boot, mentioned the blood on Brenner's shirt, the video of Brenner too, I guess the phone as well, right? All that bits of information and evidence, but not one bit about the backhoe, blood, the biological matter in the grain shed. I don't get it. So feel free to explain in the chat right now, or even just talk about it and share your opinions, because I just don't understand why it's that way. Okay, I mean, like Bob Farrell, if you're out there watching, present, or other people, if you was just to put aside the talk about the gossip or possible rumours or how it's seen as facts, put all that aside and just question this evidence which has gone quiet. Call it ghosted evidence. What happened to it? The same with the drone photos before the big winter push in 2022 when Diesel Brothers went down there. Heavy D, Dylan's family took photos of the area, sent them to Texas EquuSearch, wherever they were deployed at, to analyse the images. We never got back from them. We never heard back from them. We never heard an update to do with it. So why was that all so quiet? Why was there no update saying, hey, we found something? Or even just an update saying, hey, we didn't find anything, but we're still looking. None of that's been mentioned. Never. Yeah. Or even the follow-up with Candice Cooley saying she was going to talk to Justin Rounds about Justin supposedly acknowledging Ty Corbin, Lance Kelly, etc. for doing what they're doing, but Candice Cooley doesn't approve of it, but she was going to tell Justin about it to see what he thinks. You know? What is going on? What else do we have? We got Wanda. Oh my God, Wanda? Is this the Wanda? No, I don't know. The many Wandas out there. A wandering panda. I don't know. Wanda Curry. Candice, my heart aches for you, your family. I can't imagine not knowing. We've got Patsy Rainwater. Unfortunately, it's not raining here. It's too sunny. I don't like it. Just giving the prayer symbol. Josephie. Wait, is that Joseph Lloyd? No, it's not. I hope and pray Dylan's family's heart will mend and focus on the wonderful young man he is. Michelle, this is terrible thing to think about. What about those trash bags the cops watched Brenner take away? Fair point. I mean, it must be some form of evidence, right, for it to be taken away at the time. All I would say is, why on June the 2nd did Brenner decide to do the spring cleaning? Why did he not do it the day before, June the 1st? Why did Brenner not do the spring cleaning on the 31st of May when the police and family went down to Montello, Nevada about the call made by Kurt Wadsworth where Dylan was supposedly kept hostage in Montello by Chase Venstra and Robert Aviles? Right, this is a critical point to mention, right? Yeah, Candice Cooley has said Brenner's a bit arrogant. He thinks he's invincible, untouchable at the time, so he did what he wanted, when he wanted. But just put all that aside right now. Everyone in the chat, just think about this. June 2nd, spring cleaning. The police were present. The sheriff was present. Candice Cooley was nearby. And Brenner went to the grain shed property, moved a key piece of evidence, the grain truck, drove it out, left it out, and started fiddling around in the grain shed, bagging up whatever items, 4 to 8 bags full, taking them out, putting them near his truck, and then later, or a day later, taking them somewhere to dispose of. And supposedly Don Hately followed and tagged along. That was all done in the presence of authority and some of the family members. Why did Brenner not think of doing the spring cleaning on the 31st of May, a few days beforehand, when there was really no one around? That would have been a better time for Brenner to get on with stuff and maybe hide things before the police catch on. Why would Brenner do it in open sight? You get what I'm saying? Why would he do it in open plain sight when he had the opportunity a few days beforehand to do it when absolutely no one was around? That's what I don't understand. That's what's a little bit odd. Could you interpret it as Brenner only did it when people were around, so then it didn't seem as suspicious? And you could think, well, it is suspicious, like maybe clearing up, tidying things up whilst people are around an active crime scene. But then again, if you're doing it in open plain sight, then maybe you've got nothing to hide because you're just going about your supposed normal daily business. You're not intimidated by the police presence. You're not nervous about them. And if you're not nervous about them and you appear somewhat confident and calm, as Brenner may have been, just like how he shook it off when the sheriff asked him, what's he doing there? And he just said, spring cleaning. There was nothing strange. There was nothing weird going on for the police to think, okay. They just let him get on with the stuff. Maybe you could think like that. But still, if you had the chance to do it when no one was around, no witnesses, then it would be the easiest time to do it. There'd be no explaining, there'd be no eyes on you, and you could take your time. For Brenner to be doing it when the police are present, as well as some family members, it just seems a bit weird, right? You get what I'm saying? These like little patterns of odd things going on. And as I said, just earlier on, when I was talking about the biological matter in the grain shed and the blood on the backhoe, just want to reiterate once again so people are keeping up with the conversation and discussions. Why are those two key pieces of evidence only been talked about by the shack lady and the odd other person online, and it supposedly originated from Candice Howard, who supposedly is in contact with Candice Cooley? Why has it gone about that way? Why has it never been talked about by Candice Cooley just in rounds or the official court documents, considering all that evidence supposedly was processed at the time, March the 3rd, for Brenner to be officially charged? Why have we never heard about it, like, from them? That's all I want to know. Make sure to keep those discussions going up in chat and spread awareness of those points so it doesn't fade away, okay? Michelle LaPlante saying there has got to be a way to make Brenner talk. Brenner, from the looks of it previously, was willing to talk. It was the family that turned it down, okay? Paul saying, not in this country. Criminals have significantly more rights than victims or victims' families do. Additionally, he has absolutely nothing to gain by doing so. Well, Paul, from what Candice Cooley said herself, the horse's mouth, Candice Cooley said that Brenner was willing to talk and reveal the location of Dylan Round's remains, but Candice Cooley and Justin rejected it, turned the offer down because they feel that themselves can find Dylan Rounds. It's not worked out so far. It's the conflict of pride and stubbornness which, affects their decision making, okay? You can't blame them. It is what it is. What else do we have here? Michelle, that's crazy. I wish he would talk purely out of mercy. Okay, so this person's lost a 23-year-old as well. There's a lot of people losing one another. But then again, maybe that's why they come here, because they relate to this case, I guess. Completely different circumstances. Okay. Paul, perhaps as he gets older, he knows he will soon meet his maker. He will confess and agree with you. They're not knowing. As said, he has agreed to share, but Candice Cooley has turned it down. Torture him and he'd talk, guarantee. I don't know if Brenner would talk if he was tortured. He could be that awkward that he don't care. And to be honest, based off his age and health, if he was tortured, it could give him a heart attack or it could literally kill him on the spot, and then you've got nothing. So some of these people are a bit behind with the information, as you can see. Danny says, yeah, a plea deal. If they make him face the death penalty, the only plea deal would be to tell where Dylan is. Even without the death penalty, they could offer him one if he reveals and Dylan is actually found that way. Is he so old and healthy? He's die in prison still. Most murderers are seriously afraid of the death penalty. Well, Danny, to confirm, Brenner is not receiving the death penalty. Danny, the death penalty has been taken off the table, right? 24th of April 2023 court hearing when Brenner appeared wasn't a success because the original attorney had a conflict, so was moved away. A new attorney was appointed. But at least during that hearing, one thing that did come out about it was the death penalty was taken off the table. And that was supposedly because Brenner snapped when murdering Dylan. It wasn't premeditated, so that's why death penalty has been removed. Okay? It might make it easier for Brenner because he's not got as much to be afraid of. Okay? So, yeah, I think people are a bit behind, but it's okay. Denise says, my thoughts and prayers with you. Heavenly Father, community loves you and pray you get answers. Cecil Ebsworth says, Brenner needs some gentle persuasion by fellow inmates till he tells them where he is. Someone should offer a sweet little reward. Wait, is that basically get prisoners to do Brenner from behind? I mean, I know it sounds a bit weird, this, but if the rumour and claim was that Brenner was in some kind of gay relationship with Kurt Wadsworth, Brenner got jealous that Dylan was getting more attention, so Brenner took Dylan out in hopes that Brenner could get more focus from Kurt Wadsworth. If that really was true, then if Brenner is locked up and inmates were to force him to talk, Brenner would probably be like, come on then, bring it on, big boys. I'll take it. And still not say anything. You get what I'm saying? You know, if you're dealing with someone who's in that type of relationship, if they're then locked up in jail with inmates of the same gender and they get done by them, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference. In fact, it could actually excite that bad person because they're getting what they want without having to tell anyone the truth. You get what I'm saying? It would work with a straight person, maybe, but not if they were in a different direction. What else do we have here? Rick, there was a reward. The family rescinded it, withdrawn. Yeah. Candice Cooley, we had $200,000 up and it gained is nothing. Gentle persuasion is not even a possibility in our justice system. So Candice Cooley, once again, being quite direct and straight to the point, saying we had $200,000 up and it gained is nothing. The $200,000 is a combination between Justin Round's money of $100K and Heavy D's money of $100K. Heavy D and his crew matched the original $100K. I guess in general, the $200K was withdrawn, but $100K went to Candice Cooley, not Candice Cooley, Justin. The other $100K, I assume, went back to Heavy D. I think Shack Lady was saying there was some kind of contract implemented, so it was under control. But the bit where Candice Cooley says, gentle persuasion is not even a possibility in our system. I think Candice Cooley misunderstood Denise Armstrong's point about, Cecil's point about gentle persuasion, because what Cecil is talking about by gentle persuasion by fellow inmates is the R word. YouTube will restrict me probably if I say it, but basically male on male contact, okay? Touchy, that type of stuff. I don't think Candice Cooley picked up on it, but it's understandable. Corinne says, Brenner doesn't talk. He can continue living in guilt and truly this family deserves answers. He owes it to them. They owe him nothing. He will not be able to get out of this. We may hope pressure be put on him. We can only hope he speaks sooner than later. Once again, the family, they don't owe Brenner anything. But what they do owe Brenner is the chance to be able to speak to the family. And the family have turned that down. So, yeah. I've not seen a single comment acknowledge it, right? Gabriella Lee says, check secret bunkers around the area. Bit out of the box type question or point made. Boyd saying, and what secret bunkers for you know about? Gabriella, bunkers, and I don't know of any, but I'm sure there are some around. There's some everywhere. Okay, we've had the bunker talk in the past. It did fade away very quickly. Supposedly they searched it and found nothing, but how many bunkers are out there? Like that the root cellar near Lucin Pond, that gained a bit of traction and interest in my previous recent-ish video. People started questioning it. And even if that wasn't the place, is there any other bunkers out there? If people keep taking in mind that there's mines, mine shafts and caves, bunkers as well can be kind of secretive too, can't they? And maybe hidden. You never know. Boyd saying, I lived out in Lucin for over a year and never heard of a single secret bunker. How do you plan on finding a secret bunker? So Boyd Porter lived in Lucin for over a year. Do any locals within the area watching right now know of Boyd Porter? Have you ever heard of this person before? Interesting. It's always interesting when the locals do reach out, or the supposed locals do, to hear it from their side of the story. It's good that the Montello locals have, shared what they know of, the consistent people, I mean, with time. But we've not really heard it from the Lucin locals direct. I don't think really any Lucin people have commented on my videos. Correct me if I'm wrong. Ariana says she's just trying to help. Calm down. Danny, she watched too much YouTube. Oh, there's a little reference now. Boyd, I'm not upset. I'm just wondering how to find secret bunkers. She suggested it. Okay. Ariana saying, if I could get there from Minnesota, I would come as soon as possible. I have nothing to keep me here. I lost everything, and to help search and find Dylan would be helping his family and friends. Okay. McKinney's place. God bless you, family. Okay. Response. Not much there. Finally, Cheryl Richardson. I can't believe Dylan hasn't been found yet. That jerk that is in jail should tell you where he is. Once again, Brenner was willing to speak. Brenner was willing to reveal the location in a plea deal. That plea deal made was turned down by Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds. Can we get the last one in? Cunningham, if Brenner had help with putting Dylan somewhere, he needs to confess and show Ellie and FBI where Dylan remains are to avoid death penalty. Once again, Brenner isn't receiving the death penalty. It was taken off the table. Okay? Right, so be sure to share your additional thoughts with all what we talked about just then. If you have suddenly joined, welcome. Be sure to rewind back so you get the main part of this video, i.e. the title of it, Update by Candice Cooley. And at this moment in time, it's now the focus to shift to Shack Lady, Jim Terry, and the situations around what's going on there, okay? We'll start with the Shack Lady, okay? So someone last night in the comments said, about Shack Lady's meltdown, having a meltdown on Bob's live stream. Now, I didn't watch it, so I wouldn't have known about it. After watching it earlier today, would I call it a meltdown? I guess you could acknowledge that. Shack Lady having some kind of meltdown. Kind of like when Pancakes had a bit of a meltdown in the past. Like when it's been verbal at times, but that's been elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, some people could say, oh, how could you say that? I mean, what's a meltdown? A meltdown is when you slightly lose control. Maybe it's for a reason. It makes sense, or it was unnecessary. It can apply in many different ways, right? You can make your own ideas up with the Shack Lady, but it just seemed like she lost a little bit of control just simply because of her tone of voice. And it sounded like she was shouting and there was a bit of swearing going on. I think at one point she said to, I don't know if it was Watcher of Crazy or someone else, saying about, hope you're in a ditch, not alive, or found dead or something. Bit rough, but you know, I wouldn't say I'm in a position to start whinging or whining about it. That's all I'll say. I mean, obviously on my channel there's been burns left, right and centre and messing about, but I guess in this occasion, maybe it's actually meant. I don't know. It could be a moment where the Shack Lady, heat of the moment, right? Not the first time, it's happened in the past when the Shack Lady was dealing with Jim Terry and Salty Pancakes and was caught up in the middle of it. She did have to shout, she had to try and overtalk everyone to get control back of her own show at the time. And she did get annoyed, frustrated, when either people tried maybe stabbing her in the back or forcing her to choose a side. So it happened back then. It temporarily happened when I showed up on one of the YouTube live streams and said hi to the Shack Lady. Pancakes got triggered by it, started calling me out all those terms and accusations, slander, but then said the same thing to the Shack Lady and also said things to the Shack Lady in the past about inappropriate stuff. At that moment, Shack Lady did respond back, and I think she did call in and she did have it out with Pancakes, and she was very annoyed and frustrated, okay, because she was being called out for something that she's not a part of or hasn't done. So it makes sense there for her to be defensive, defending herself. That's normal. As for this time round, though, with Bob Farrell, I don't know if it was like defending oneself or not, because I don't know the full story of it all, okay? But I can at least acknowledge that there was a level of tension, right? Could it all be through a disagreement, misunderstanding? As I said, I'm not quite sure. It has happened within the Dylan Rounds community several times previous, misunderstandings, which lead to falling out, conflict tension, which leads to things spiraling out of control. We've also seen people pledging allegiance to one another and then switching and changing over time. I think Watcher of Crazy was highlighting that the Shack Lady was supporting Jim Terry, then suddenly supported Pancakes because Pancakes threatened her in some way. I don't know if that's truly the case because I've not seen the video or stuff to do with that, right? I can understand just the concept of supporting someone out of fear that they may attack you if you branch off and go elsewhere. During my time covering the Pancakes situation, where you did have ex-members and ex-mods from his channel that came to mine and shared their stories about how they were either hacked, threatened, exposed, location revealed or something because they wanted to break away. A couple of people that was thinking different disagreed with what Pancakes was saying at the time, but his audience and some of his stronger hardline following ended up silencing some of the people, so they had to fall in line and all be yes men and nod their heads like that, right? I have seen it to that extent previous. So if it's impacted the Shack Lady in that way, then I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. But because of the Shack Lady, she seems to have a strong mindset and I can't get the word out, a strong mindset and a strong opinion. Might not always be true, might get a few inaccuracies in there, but it seems like she can think for herself. Maybe at times appears as if she's under the spell of someone, but that might be to save herself temporarily, right? Sometimes it might be like a chess game, you never know. At least from my experience with the Shack Lady, considering I don't bend over backwards to Pancakes, right? Even though the Shack Lady might support Pancakes, yeah, I don't, really. The Shack Lady hasn't taken it out on me. She hasn't called me out for thinking different. Times in the past where I was accused or labelled this and that, and I pointed out to the Shack Lady, she kind of defended Pancakes, but she did understand the seriousness of the claims towards me. So she still has, you know, understanding, okay? People were calling Shack Lady out recently saying she's got brain damage or something. Whilst you could see that as an insult and maybe a bit unnecessary, it supposedly is true to an extent, or some kind of brain injury, but Shack Lady did explain it in the past. She was in some kind of accident. I don't know if it was a car accident, but something which caused complication, and it affected her brain or so, but she did recover. You know, in the past, when the Shack Lady, when I pointed it out at the time, when I wasn't aware of it, I said, the Shack Lady is a bit slow to respond, or a bit slow catching up on stuff in the Dylan Rounds case. She'll repeat the same thing, what I just said, but she'll say it 2 hours later, and I said it much earlier. So I was saying that she's kind of slow in picking up and interpreting stuff, but then she did openly say that she's had some complications with the brain. So it was a bit awkward, that, in a way, because I wasn't aware of it, but if I was, I would have understood it more than at the time, right? Does that, though, play a role or some kind of excuse in terms of her recent actions and how she's said things? I don't know, because if I'm under the idea that brain complications leads to slower understanding when picking up on information, does that translate to verbal tension? I don't know. I've not analysed the brain in that area to come out with a definitive explanation, okay? Guess maybe in the past where people might have had damage to the back of their head, it's impacted their personality and how they may behave. But the Shack Lady has never snapped with me. Even if she doesn't agree with what I say, even if I don't support who she supports, she hasn't snapped with me. And she has been nice. So obviously to a couple of people that will be hard to believe, but she has been nice, like when I've come across her. So that's good of her there, I appreciate it. If anyone has joined right now and thinking, why have I got a hat on? Am I going through some kind of chemotherapy or something? Nope, it's all under control. I've just recently tried the Betty Hayward headband trend, okay? Because Betty Hayward's always on point with the fashion and everyone's getting jealous. I thought, I'll try the headband. Maybe it's not working too well for me, but there you go. And once again, when you take off the hat, it generates a completely new hairstyle, whether it be for the good reason or bad. It just generates it randomly. So there we go, different hairstyle today, in a way. But yeah, Shack Lady, you could say a bit of a meltdown, just recent with Bob's video, but I have seen it in the past. Maybe, at least from what I've seen, I know not everyone will agree, that's fine. From what I've seen, most of the time when the Shack Lady has got a bit angry or pissed off, she's been trying to defend herself. Does it apply in this instant, this occasion, recent? I'm not sure, because I don't know the full story. And people could say, well, don't talk then at all. Well, the thing is, the only reason why I'm going to only know a little bit of the story is because I'm busy covering the Dylan Rounds case, which is arguably more important than some screaming and shouting in the background, right? There's no harm in incorporating some of this talk, considering that the Shack Lady has been involved in the Dylan Rounds case. And as I said earlier, she was the one talking about the biological matter, right? I think what people need to understand when it comes to the Shack Lady, the way she words things appear as if she's some kind of official in the Dylan Rounds case. That she's got all the intel and all the secret answers, but she doesn't exactly. It's just how she words stuff. So that's probably what leads to misunderstanding. As for the tone of her voice, I don't know if that plays a role at all. I mean, you know, try and compare to Bob Farrell, okay? When it comes to Bob Farrell, there'll be times where in the past I thought he was getting angry, shouting, but he wasn't angry. It was just his tone of voice. You get what I'm saying? sometimes you might come across a person that talks in a particular way. The tone, the pace of the voice, or even the volume. Maybe they just speak a bit louder than others. Some may interpret that as shouting, but to them it's not. They're just talking normally. And I think that applies to Bob Farrell. Correct me if I'm wrong. With the Shack Lady, she can talk, I guess, calmly and slower. Sometimes it sounds like she talks with a mouth full, but not as much as Kaylee does. I don't know what the trend is there with talking with the mouth full. But then again, you're behind the camera, so it doesn't really matter. No one's going to see you, so yeah. But I personally wouldn't eat whilst doing a video, live or not, right? Even though it's not live, I still wouldn't, because, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to focus. I'd be trying to focus on keeping what's ever in my mouth, and focusing on trying to swallow it too. Try not to get it out of context, that, okay? But yeah, Shack Lady, not everyone will agree with her. Some people may have been okay with her, but if allegiances have changed over time, people might not think as much about her in a positive light, right? But, you know, all I say is I've not had any negative run-ins with the Shack Lady. She's never caused much trouble or any trouble with me. She's not negatively impacted my channel, so that's good. And she's, at least from what I've seen towards me, she's shown a level of care as well. So if something bad's happened in the past or some kind of event or drama, she does acknowledge or show a bit of understanding. So that's what I mean, got to balance it out, right? If you don't balance it out, then it's going to become very one-sided, and then you drown out the other voice, the other side, okay? They become the voiceless, and you got to get Miss T guidance in to guide them for the voiceless. Miss T, you're going to be voicing Shack Lady's opinion or Shack Lady's experiences. I don't think so, Miss T, because she's going to be over-talking you like a loudspeaker, man. Anyway, jokes aside, let's move on to the next little talking point. If you weren't already aware, Kaylee. Where's Kaylee at? Kaylee! Kaylee! Where are you? Kaylee has popped back up on YouTube. Now, Kaylee, in a way, never really left, but she did set up a different channel because her original one was taken down. Her original channel called Kaylee Tree, the number 3. Okay? 3 lots. And that was in support of pancakes. She did her own videos. Now, if you're wondering who that person was with the tongue stuck out in yesterday's video, which was just in the background of when we're looking for 28 Alice channel, and then that other random video showed up on the screen. Didn't ask for it, but if anyone's wondering, I think Dale was a bit confused. The person with the tongue out was Kaylee, okay? Because it was titled or something, whatever. But Kaylee, I only noticed it yesterday when I looked at my notification tab in the mention section. It said Kaylee has tagged me in a video. Now, I think because I was outside and there wasn't much internet, I wasn't able to check it at the time. So later on in the day, when I went back on it to check the mention part, the tag from Kaylee had disappeared. So she must have removed my name, deleted it or something, or maybe even deleted the video. I don't know what happened there with Kaylee. I don't know if she wanted to show me something, tell me about something, or she had second thoughts about maybe it's not a good idea, or maybe Kaylee did have a video up and then was forced to take it down later on in the day. I don't know, but I definitely saw a tag by her, and when I did type it in later, her channel was there. The original Kaylee with a head slanted like that, okay? So I guess her channel has been reinstated. Why is it taken so long, though? You get what I'm saying? Now, Kaylee's channel, dodgy bed, isn't it? It's going to break any second. My God. But with Kaylee, okay? I guess her channel got taken away months ago, around the time when Pancake's channel was taken down. I think when Pancake's channel was permanently taken down, terminated, it coincided with Kaylee's channel as well. It was like mass, multiple people impacted negatively. And ever since from then, Pancake's departure, it's taken from then till yesterday for Kaylee's channel to pop back up. That's quite some time. So does that mean that Kaylee has waited all this time to have an appeal, a successful appeal, accepted for her channel to be reinstated? Maybe. If Kaylee is present right now, or if you want to leave a comment afterwards, feel free. If you want to explain it from your side, just get an understanding, because, you know, for a channel just to pop up like that once again, it makes you think, does it put into perspective how other channels out there like Jim Terry, Mr. X, or 28 Alice, when they make appeals in hopes of getting their channel reinstated, could it take as long as what happened to Kaylee's channel? You get what I'm saying? You never know. But, you know, if Kaylee is officially back on YouTube, I guess that means more giggling time. Isn't that right? Isn't that right, Kaylee? It's so funny. Obviously, I've not surfaced my voice for a bit to do that tone because it's been so long, but maybe I'll get the hang of it again. Let me just take some blessings for a second. Blessings. There we go. I've lubricated my throat. Try it again. Oh my God, Kaylee is back. I'm back, Kaylee. If anyone's wondering, I'm not transforming into a wolf. Not yet. Take that in note, Watcher of Crazy. Not yet. But, you know, I guess it is what it is, right? So, let's put that aside and move on to the talk about Jim Terry, okay? So, recently the talk was breaking news that Jim Terry has footage of Dylan Rounds. 15 minutes worth, maybe up to 40 minutes. I don't know the entire length, but the number 15 was mentioned, okay? Now, obviously, that sparked a lot of interest. What the hell is it? What could this video be about to do with Dylan Rounds? How did Jim Terry obtain it, right? A lot of mystery and intrigue. But before that could be uploaded, obviously, Jim Terry's channel was terminated or suspended, whichever, taken down. So I guess that delayed things, which is unfortunate, right? So the video won't be on YouTube, though I guess it will be on Rumble, and they confirmed that. So more recent talk was, oh, it's coming tonight. Yeah, but referring to the previous day, people were saying it then, yesterday. Oh, it's coming tonight. And supposedly on Rumble, their channel, it was titled Dylan Rounds Footage Revealed or something, Chapter 9. And one of my viewers or so watched it and basically said that it wasn't shown. It was in the title, but the video wasn't shown after all that hype. You know, all that hype, all that waiting mentioned in the title. And was it shown? From what they said, no, not at all. This viewer did say that Jim Terry at the very end of the live stream announced that the following day, Tuesday or something, at whatever US time zone, they will be dropping the first 15 minutes of the footage of Dylan Rounds. Okay, I guess people wait for that to happen. But why previously say, we've got the footage, we're going to show it tonight, and then when the night comes, they don't really show it? And then they say, no, it'll be the next night. So will it be when the next night comes, they won't show it again, and then they'll come out with another excuse? You get what I'm saying? Is it going to follow like a pattern with Brenner and the court case being delayed over and over and over again? Well, ultimately, time will tell tonight, okay? Now, in summary, the way it's been described, the actual contents of this footage is to do with Dylan Rounds, JD, and maybe 2 other people or so in a car, and it's to do with that time. I can't remember the date, I don't really know the year, but it's to do with before Dylan went missing at least. And some of you may have already heard about this, but I'll bring it back up. So there was a time in the past where Dylan, with some of his friends, including JD, were all in a car together. I think JD might have been driving, I'm not quite sure. They were also in possession of alcohol, I believe, but they weren't under the influence of it. They were just with alcohol with them at the time, but they weren't drunk, I think. And they got pulled over by police. And I think that was because earlier, one of the friends littered, so someone reported them. And then the police got a hold of them in the car and stopped them. And then I think they were going to receive a fine or a warning, a telling off. And then whatever happened after that happened. Did it directly lead to the disappearance of Dylan Rounds after that? No. But I guess it showed a side to Dylan which no one else has ever seen. Maybe not even the family. So I guess that's why Jim Terry is revealing it very soon. Okay? That's if it is revealed, right? Okay. They were saying that it's more filmed on the passenger side. It's about 15 minutes long or maybe longer, depending what's shown. And it depicts Dylan Rounds, or mainly JD, telling a lot of lies when questioned by the police. Okay. Is that normal? I mean, maybe if you're in trouble and you're of a certain age, maybe you're more likely to lie. You want to try and get off the hook. You want to try and slip your way out of things, right? Okay. What does it really do, though? What's the actual purpose of the video? Okay, it's good being able to see footage of Dylan Rounds, yes, before he went missing. But how far back does it date to? And how relevant is it to the disappearance of Dylan Rounds? Or is it just simply showing a different side to Dylan Rounds and that's all? I mean, not, it's just to try and get an understanding, to have a certain expectation of it. Do people understand? If people really vaguely heard about it and thought footage of Dylan Rounds, they might think, oh my God, is this seconds before Dylan was murdered? Is this a day or two before, which might have shown conflict or someone threatening him? No, it's got nothing to do with that. But it may well show a reckless side to Dylan Rounds, whether he lies, joking about, not taking things seriously. Is that normal though? I guess if you're with a group of friends and you're of a certain age, you can mess about. Maybe you can do bad things at times, right? I guess in a way it's normal. I mean, what do you say? The theme with the Dylan Rounds community is it's normal to have a mugshot, for everyone to almost have a mugshot. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but that's how it's almost been portrayed as. And I'm here, stood here, thinking, I ain't got no mugshots. I haven't even got a mugshot of my face on a mug. So, maybe I'm too clean. Oh, it sounds weird that, doesn't it? But, yeah. So, referring back to this footage of Dylan Rounds with his friends, if Candice Cooley saw it, depending, or if Justin Rounds saw it, what does it do, end of the day? Does it harm the case in a negative way? I don't think so. It doesn't really harm evidence. If the footage is before Dylan went missing, and it's sometime before, then it doesn't have much of a link, so it's not harmful. Does it discredit Dylan Rounds? Does it tarnish Dylan Rounds' legacy? It could to some people. Some people could get triggered. It could lead to more resistance. You never know. It might even lead to Candice Cooley doing a direct response in a video saying, I told you to leave this case and you're still doing it. Though supposedly, in Jim Terry's defence, or as other people would say in Jim Terry's defense, Jim Terry supposedly reached out to the family about this footage, but they didn't respond back. So that's why Jim Terry is now revealing it public. Jim Terry also said that he sent a copy to the FBI or something. To be sending it to the FBI, you could assume that it must be quite important and serious and relevant to the case. Maybe. Or maybe it's just catching up on lies which were told by Dylan Rounds and his friends for some form of crime at the time, which was never fully followed through with the truth, maybe. But ultimately, the question is, does this footage lead to Dylan Rounds being found? Yes or no? You can share your thoughts right now. You probably will have a better understanding later on tonight, you know, based off the dodgy time zone difference, okay? Probably get a better idea at some point. Now, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong about the situation of Dylan being in the car. Maybe they were drunk. All I heard at one point was they at least had alcohol with them. But then again, the story changes a little bit here and there, so what you meant to think. But if there's video footage of it, then obviously it will explain it clearly, right? But all I would say is, even if the footage is shown, all I would say is, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't directly help, or like, it doesn't have the direct link to where Dylan Rounds is buried at, okay? It might show Dylan in a bit of a negative light, right, before his disappearance. But how do you interpret it? How do you infer from that footage if Dylan is portrayed in a negative way? I guess all you could say is, if Dylan isn't the golden boy he's claimed to be, then maybe he does have a darker side, or maybe he gets in with the wrong crowd, or maybe with his attitude and possible lies that he pissed off the wrong person at a certain point, maybe with Brenner or someone else, which then led to him being taken out. Though, I'm sure there's many other humans out there that have lied or been a bit cocky and they didn't end up being killed. So, makes you think. I won't say any more because I'm sure the video can speak for itself, but I just wanted to point it out to you. So, if you weren't already aware, Jim Terry supposedly on Rumble sometime today or later, whenever the time zone is, they're going to be revealing 15 minutes worth of footage of Dylan Rounds before he went missing. Does it lead to him being found? I would say probably not, but it could reveal a different side to the story in some way. Could it lead to all kinds of conspiracies and rabbit holes branching off from it? Maybe. Could it lead to Bob Farrell's head exploding at trying to grasp it all? Yes, but I'm sure he can fix it. Bob can always fix it, okay? With a few planks of wood and nails, a bit of cement, I'm sure it'll work. I'm sure Indiana has got a builder's yard somewhere, okay? Her hands are like bricks, right? Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. I said we're going to do some like gameplay or something, but got caught up in all this recent stuff and it's very relevant right now as of speaking. I think in a day or two, Dylan Rounds' legacy comes up. My question is this why Jim Terry has left it this long to reveal that video footage? Because it's coming up to the anniversary of Dylan Rounds and it's a time to spread awareness about Dylan and everyone's going to be talking about it and more people are going to be returning back. So then that means Jim Terry can reveal that footage and then it's shock and awe and everything and then everybody watches. I mean, it's interesting timing. That's all I'll say, right? So let me know your additional thoughts down below in the comment section. Make sure to spread awareness of this case and the video and the update by Candice Cooley. Feel free to like this video. And yeah, links down below if you wish to visit them. And yeah, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time. But for now, goodbye and good night.